Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I got to help deliver meals. It was such a treat, especially when I get to see so many of my students out and about, which I did today. It makes it even better. Today, I want to share a biography with you. The title is The Boy Who Invented the Popsicle: The Cool Science Behind Frank Epperson's Famous Frozen Treat. Got to ask that important question: what is a biography? I'll give you a second to shout it out. If you said that a biography is a true story about a person's life, you are exactly right. This is about Frank Epperson and his cool invention, which I really like, the popsicle. Our author is Anne Reno, and our illustrator is Milan Pavlovic. So we'll get started. During the story, there are 4 different spots where they share some recipes. You'll see them as I read, and then I'll share them again at the end. So if parents are interested, they can screenshot those recipes and you can try them out at home. Just remember to send some pictures. I would love to see how your invention works for you. There is our title page. Frank William Epperson knew what he wanted to be when he grew up, and everyone in Frank's family knew too, because in case they forgot, he reminded them often, "I want to be a great inventor." When not busy with his schoolwork or chores, Frank could be found adventuring with his brother Cray, practicing his cornet, or learning magic tricks. He also pondered important questions. Do ants have ears? Do goldfish sleep? Do woodpeckers get headaches from pecking all day? But Frank's favorite pastime was inventing, and to invent, Frank knew he had to experiment. So off he would go to his laboratory, his back porch. There he doodled and designed, tinkered and tested, analyzed and scrutinized. By the time Frank was 10 years old, he had already masterminded his first invention: a hand car with 2 handles. At twice the speed of a regular one-handled hand car, Frank whizzed down the streets of his neighborhood. Hot dog! Frank also experimented with liquids. So there's an experiment. Why won't they play together? I'll post it again at the end for you to try at home. But what Frank loved most was experimenting with flavored soda waters, the kind that hissed and wheezed when he held a glassful to his ear and sent tangy bubbles galloping across his tongue with every gulp. Frank had his heart set on inventing the yummiest, most thirst-quenching, lip-smacking soda water drink ever. So off Frank would go to the corner store to buy the flavored soda water powders he needed for his experiments, often with his little brother Cray tagging along. "Hi, Big Ep. Hi, Little Ep." Cray was a handy taster for Frank's concoctions. Some of his attempts were unsuccessful. You could even say they were disastrous. But Frank just kept on trying. And you might have heard Mr. Traxon talk today about a word that means that you just keep on trying. Do you remember what that word was? If you said perseverance, you are correct. Frank definitely had perseverance. He kept trying. Even though he might have failed, he did not give up. And here's another experiment for you to try: a whole lot of fizzing going on. One day, Frank and the other children in his neighborhood decided to build a miniature amusement park. There was a theater, a merry-go-round, and a scenic railway. Frank was assigned the soda water stand, which suited him just fine. He could share his soda water creations with all his friends. That's a pretty cool little amusement park. It was also around this time that something peculiar happened. The temperature dipped, then plunged. This would not have been unusual had Frank lived in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, or Pocatello, Idaho, where it could be bitterly cold in winter. But he lived in San Francisco, California, where only rarely did the temperature drop below freezing. So Frank tried another experiment. he left a glass of flavored soda water outside overnight. I wonder what this drink will taste like frozen. And then there's his brother Cray playing with the dog while he's pondering his new invention. So the next morning, Frank ran to his back porch to discover his soda water had frozen solid. He could no longer sip it. He had to lick it like a lollipop. Frank had invented a frozen drink on a stick. Hot dog! As he grew older, Frank's invention did not melt from his memory. He just tucked it away in a corner of his mind, and there it stayed while he and his sweetheart, Mary Frances, began raising their gaggle of children. But when Frank noticed more and more people eating chocolate-covered ice cream bars, off he went to his laboratory, now his garage, to experiment. Could I make money with my frozen drink invention? What if I used fruit juices? Frank found a way to make many of his drinks on a stick at the same time. With test tubes to mold them, wooden sticks to hold them, and a cool way to freeze them. Hot dog! For Frank's drinks on a stick to freeze, they had to be cold, very cold, colder than 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the freezing point of water. Why? Because their ingredients like sugar and flavoring lowered their freezing point. So what did Frank do? He built a freezing box that held dozens of test tubes suspended in a mixture of crushed ice and salt. Frank knew that salt lowered the freezing point of water and that salty water froze at a much lower temperature than plain tap water. The salt and ice mixture would be colder than 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And here's an experiment for the big freeze. You can see how salt lowers the freezing point of water. Frank's drinks on a stick also had to freeze quickly. If they froze too slowly, the sugar and flavoring, which were heavier than water, settled at the bottom of the test tubes, leaving just flavorless frozen water at the top. Frank wanted his treats to have the same tasty flavor throughout. The salt and crushed iced mixture surrounding the test tubes was so cold it froze the liquid inside the tubes in minutes. Frozen already? And here's an experiment for you to try to where you can have your own frozen treat in only 5 minutes. Frank named his invention the Popsicle and began selling it for a nickel at county fairs and beaches. In the evenings, his children helped him roll the nickels he had earned. Frank had a clever way to encourage shop owners to sell his frozen treats. For several weeks in a row, he sent one of his children into a store to buy an Popsicle. Each week, the shop owner had to tell a different child that Popsicles were not sold in the store. Frank would then visit the store himself and ask the shop owner to stock his treats. Of course, the owner agreed after having had so many requests. Pretty smart idea. Frank's children were always keen to sample their father's confections. Pop, can we have a sickle? Orange is my favorite. And with all of them clamoring for their Pop's tasty fabrications, in time, the name of Frank's invention changed to, any ideas? I bet you guessed it, the Popsicle. It's a great treat for those hot summer days. Here are some photographs that they've included at the end of the book of the real Frank. And you can see in the top left-hand corner, there's Frank and his younger brother, Cray, practicing their cornets, and this is around 1907. The picture to the right of that is Frank and his wife, Mary Frances, with 8 of their 9 children. This was taken around 1937. Directly below that, you can see Frank selling his popsicles in Salinas, California at a little stand he had there, and this was July 20th, 1923. And the bottom right-hand side, you can see him making, in the test tubes, making his popsicles, and I thought it was really cool, the little vintage popsicle advertisement. Here are those 5 recipes that you saw earlier in the story. You can pause it and screenshot them. So hopefully you can try them out at home. And if you do them, have your parents post it on Facebook. Just include that Pup Nation hashtag, or you could also send pictures to myself, videos, or even to your classroom teacher. So here's the why won't they play together with the cooking oil and water. A whole lot of fizzing going on, and you get to make your own lemon flavored soda water. This next one is the big freeze, and it will kind of just demonstrate to you how salt lowers the freezing point of water. And then your last one is making that frozen treat in only 5 minutes. So I'd love to see your creations. Just make sure you have permission before you do it. And I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and I'll be back in a day or two to share another great story with you. Take care.